Why would anyone need to be this strong? Well, this is why. Four big maces, even bigger muscles, and the power of a thunder god. Enter the Mjölner Warp Titan. This version of the build is based on a detailed guide by DeadRabbit, but he notes it was initially popularized by Aste, a Korean streamer. This Titan uses the latest in SLAM technology to warp around the map, blow up screens, and chunk pinnacle bosses in seconds. It makes full use of weapon swapping, combining this with additional damage mechanics to squeeze out every advantage the setup has to offer. So, how does it work? At the iron heart of this build is Mjölner, a powerful unique mace that grants Thunder God's wrath. This meta skill will cast all socketed lightning spells automatically when you hit enough enemies with melee attacks. As it turns out, Lightning Warp is a fantastic choice for this auto-casting setup. It creates shocked ground, which lets the build have a fairly constant uptime on Herald of Thunder. Most importantly, Lightning Warp lets us teleport around the map at a pace unbecoming of a mace-wielding titan. Speaking of maces, the rest of our map-clearing damage is coming from our massive Earthquake setup. DeadRabbit is using Giant's Blood to equip a two-hand mace in the off-hand slot. This chunk of rebar is stacked with as much damage and attack speed as possible. Using the passive tree and a few greater runes, our Earthquake is lightning fast. This is important for survivability too. If you warp into a group of enemies and can't slam down fast enough, you could get stunned and overwhelmed. Along these lines, DeadRabbit notes how nice it is to use the Megalomaniac Jewel to pick up the Thrill of Battle notable. This gives you a big boost to attack speed when you're surrounded, which is precisely what the build needs. You may have realized by now that although this build is effective, it's not simple or cheap. The hardest part of making this build work is hitting the massive attribute requirements it has. Mjölner requires almost 250 strength, 200 intelligence, and these numbers are tripled by the Giant's Blood notable. To hit our strength requirements, there's only one way. We have to get big. The Titan's passive, Hulking Form, increases the effect of small passives on the tree. Then we're pathing all over the show to get as many strength nodes as possible. We're also getting lots of strength on our gear, including the Moria Invictus armor to stack strength runes. To hit our intelligence goals, well, we're not. The Yarn Griper gloves let us use strength instead of intelligence for our weapon requirements. Hit harder, not smarter. In an older version of the build, DeadRabbit used the Vertex Mask to reduce attribute requirements. The author notes it's worth going the extra mile to reach the strength requirement naturally, so we can instead use the deepest tower. With this oppressive helm equipped, all enemies in our presence count as having low life. This means we can pick up as many passive nodes as possible that increase damage to enemies on low life. And some of these nodes are huge. Sometimes, Mjölner with its famously stubby handle is too small to deal with big threats. For bossing, DeadRabbit is using a weapon swap. On his back, this Titan carries 2 chunks of pure physical damage. On the passive tree, his Mjölner Earthquake setup is boosted by attack speed, area damage, and area of effect. Anything that helps us clear maps faster. Our double mauls are boosted by simple damage nodes. There's also a little cooking required for big bosses. Dropping Solar Orb with the right support gems can be used to strip fire resistance from the boss and build rage. Armor Breaker can be used to shatter their armor, and Infernal Cry can be used to consume rage and empower the next attacks with fire damage. Finally, a huge Rolling Slam will smash them to dust. There's a lot of cool little details in this build we don't have time to mention. For example, our reduced skill effect duration, which helps make Earthquake faster, also benefits Time of Need. This is a buff gem that periodically clears curses and ailments, and reducing skill duration gets it to proc more often. We like this build because it makes full use of many of the systems PoE 2 has to offer. It's heavily optimized, no fat, all muscle, and it's just a ton of fun to walk around like a bouncing cannonball. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to know more, check out DeadRabbit's detailed build guide in the description. See you next time!